Nscaler 454 here. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be reviewing this Atlas Masterline Gold Series Alco S-2 locomotive in N scale, so stay tuned. Okay, well, as always, let's pop this out of the box. You can already see the details look pretty darn good. Getting this out might be a little bit interesting. That worked quite nicely. It's certainly a very good-looking locomotive. Little history lesson on it. These were made between 1940 and 1950, so they're very, very old, especially for a diesel locomotive. It has a 1,000 horsepower inline-six turbo diesel engine and a 2,400 liter fuel tank. Looking at the details, I have to say I am very impressed with how thin these grab rails are. They are plastic, but they certainly match the scale of the locomotive. However, look how flexible these are. Ooh, this one's already kind of bent. Now they should be okay as long as you don't hook them or pinch them with your fingers, but it would be nice if these were metal, but in terms of appearance, they look excellent. The steps look fantastic, but look at the detail in the trucks. Holy cow! These are excellent. They got all kinds of details, and it's not just two-dimensional. There's a very deep concaves in here. A lot of different depth to them, I guess you could say. So if you weathered these would look outstanding. I like the texture right here on the vents. I like the small print of the decals right there. You can actually see all the little rivets in here as well. That's an excellent detail. On the top side of the locomotive, our exhaust right here, it actually looks a little bit shiny. Even though it's the same molding of plastic, it just does look a little bit shiny. I think that would look good if it was weathered as well. Again, still nice details in these vents right here. The back of the locomotive looks excellent as well. Some very tiny grab rails right here. The couplers I think look okay. There's actually a hose right there. How about that? There's some texture right here. Same thing with all the way down the sides right here. Ooh, I just noticed, look at that. That grab rail is disconnected right there. Ooh, oh boy. Interesting enough, I don't even have it on the other side. Maybe that's normal. I think that's by design. Yeah, that's by design. The other side hooks up, right? Interesting. Wonder why they would do that. Details along the side, again, excellent. The front of the locomotive, pretty much the same as the back. Coupler, this hose, and the same railings right here as it is on the back. But overall, though, I think this looks fantastic. Actually, look how... I think the light looks really good. Nice and circular. There's no overspray. Very, very crisp. I'm actually quite impressed by that. In typical fashion, we are going to weigh it. Now, obviously, it's a small locomotive, so I don't expect it to weigh too much, but it is quite dense. 62 grams. That's actually not bad for the size of it. All the details and everything looks great right here, but let's take it down to the layout and see how it performs. I have the engine programmed into my Digitrax system, so the first thing we're going to test is the sound. It's a very lumpy old diesel sound. But I mean, like I said, these are built in 1940 to 1950, so I guess that's to be expected. Boy, that's like an old ship horn. Well, it's doing like a high idle. I'm pushing 9 and it's creating this. Sounds like a runaway diesel at this point. Okay, we're going to shut it down. Oh, instant shut off. That's weird. So apparently it was going crazy and it shut itself off. We'll push it. We'll start it up again. No, it's just going to go right back to that. 8 now becomes a pause. I don't know how to slow that down. Okay, I turned off the power to the track and turned it back on, and it seems to have fixed the runaway engine sound. So let's turn it back on. Okay, that's good. And now we're going to turn it off to make sure it shuts off. That is a very long shutdown sound. Okay, we'll test the light at the back. And we'll test the light at the front. That seems to be the only lights that are on the entire locomotive. I just noticed the front and rear lights turn on whether you're on forward or reverse. All right, let's see this thing move. Ooh, a little stuttery. I've cleaned my tracks, so it's not the track. I would say we might have some dirt on the wheels, so I think I'm going to clean those up real quick. I cleaned up the wheels. Let's see how it goes. Seems pretty good. And just for reference, that is #1 speed. So it's as slow as it goes. Which I have to say isn't too bad. This locomotive runs terribly through my switches. As a comparison, look at how my GP38 goes through these. I'll even slow it down a little bit. Nice and smooth. After a whole bunch of cleaning and scrubbing of the wheels, I have this working a lot better. Now we're getting to the fun part, which is the pull test. We are starting off with 4 Rapido tank cars. We're on power 10. I might actually crank that up just a little bit because that is super slow. For those that don't know, this is a 16.5 degree radius, 2% incline hill. Because these Rapido tank cars are quite heavy, this is actually quite a challenge for a locomotive to make it up this hill. I feel like it should get through 4 cars no problem. I have cleaned this track, but it's still a little juddery, isn't it? but it does pass this test without problems. We're now pulling 6 cars, and to be perfectly honest, if it pulls anything more than 6, I'd be pretty happy. Doing pretty good. I've upped the power and speed to speed setting 14. And so far, it's doing really good. So, 6 is not a problem either. This is 8 cars, and it's still pulling pretty good. Maybe a slight stumble right there. But, you made it up. We're up to 9 cars, and we're coming up to our spot that's usually the most difficult. Ooh, a little bit of spinning there. Yeah, it's starting to struggle for sure. But it's gonna make it. All right, I have 10 cars on it. I've cranked the power to 20 to give it its best chance. I don't think it's gonna make it though. It's already slowing down. It should get at least up to here, and then I think we'll see some struggles. There it is. It's struggling, and that's it. It will not go past there. So I cranked up the speed to hear the sound at high speeds. Sounds like it's about to blow up. So let's give this some reviews. For detail, it looks great. There's nothing that's really wrong with it. It would be nice if these handrails were metal, but they're very thin and they're painted very nicely. It's a solid 8 out of 10, but because these trucks look so good, I'm gonna bump that up to 8.5 out of 10. Quality control, how it comes from the factory, overall it's not bad. Everything is there's nothing broken. Yeah, the rear handrails are a little bit bent, but that's minor. I think the bigger deal is that it took a lot of cleaning just to get it to run decently on the track, and I don't know if we should have to do that as a consumer. So from that, I'm gonna have to rank it 7 out of 10. For sound, I think this is pretty darn good. I mean, look how big this locomotive is. You can't expect a very loud volume out of something this small. I mean, where did they put the speaker anyways? There's just no room for it. The fact that this even comes with sound straight from the factory is already impressive, and is kind of why I was so excited about it in the first place. I really like that the sound is different than other locomotives that I have. Remember, this was built between 1940 and 1950 and only 1,000 horsepower. So this diesel engine is going to sound significantly different than the modern locomotives that we hear today, and I like that. The high-speed sound on this is a little bit flat, a little high-pitched, so maybe it's not perfect, but honestly, these little locomotives are switchers, so they're going to be ran at slow speeds anyway, so it's not really a big deal. I do feel like there's a bit of a meshing issue when you're going from idles to any kind of speed, especially high speed, and from, say, high speed back down to idle. It's not a perfect transition. Not a big deal, but it's there, and it's just maybe the programming could have been a little bit better. Speaking of programming, this thing had a glitch in it. It decided to just run away on me. It took a bit to figure out how to fix it. So there's something in the software that when you're pushing the buttons on the Digitrax, it kind of goes haywire. Maybe that's just mine, I don't know. But all things considered, I am going to give this an 8 out of 10. For performance, well, it's good and bad. The good is this thing pulls really good. It pulled 9 of those Rapido tank cars up my curved incline, which on my layout, that's fantastic, especially for the size of this thing. So in that sense, I would give it like a 9 out of 10. But it's very glitchy. Like, it does not run very smoothly at all. Despite all the cleaning I did, it still isn't all that great. Now, I have a different Atlas locomotive that straight out of the box, it ran perfectly. And I kind of had that standard and expectation coming into this one, so it's a bit of a disappointment. Will it get better? I'm not so sure. But as of right now, it still doesn't run very good. And despite how good it pulls, I think that how smooth it runs is far more important. And boy, in that case, I have to only give this like a 6.5 out of 10. For an overall ranking, what do we give it? Well, there's a lot of good points to it. It looks great, it sounds great, and it pulls great, but there's also a few issues with it. It took quite a bit of cleaning just to get it to run. There's a sound glitch in the software, and the smooth operation performance of it is really not that good. And honestly, that's the most important part. So I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. Now, do you agree with that? Well, let me know in the comments. If you liked the video, give me a like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.